Thank you so much for staying with us. You're welcome back. It is still the AM Weekend Show. Right now, we're going to be having our first conversation, and we're going to be looking at justice for Ochanya, the fight against sexual abuse. I mean, this story has been the story on everybody's lips right now, and it is such a sad one. And we're just going to look into the issue from a legal perspective. We'll be having a legal practitioner join us in a few minutes. But before we deep dive into that, I'll just give you a little bit of background of the story in case you haven't been following. Nigeria has been shaken by the heartbreaking death of a 13-year-old Elizabeth Ochanya Ogbanje, a secondary school student from Benue State. Ochanya had lived with her maternal relatives, Mr. Andrew Obuja, a lecturer at the Benue State Polytechnic, and his son, Victor Obuja, under whose care she was repeatedly sexually abused for several years. The abuse reportedly led to severe health complications, including a vesicovaginal fistula, that's VVF, and eventually her death on October 17, 2018. Following widespread outrage, the Benue State government charged Andrew Obuja with rape and culpable homicide, while Victor the son went into hiding. In 2022, the Benue State High Court in Makurdi acquitted Andrew Obuja, ruling that the prosecution failed to prove its case beyond reasonable doubt. However, in a separate ruling, Felicia Obuja, the lecturer's wife, was convicted for negligence and sentenced to 5 months imprisonment for failing to protect Ochanya from the abuse. Now, 7 years after her death, Nigerians are once again calling for justice for Ochanya, demanding answers on how such a clear case of abuse could end without justice and what this says about the system's ability to protect the girl child. I mean, there's been a lot said about the girl child, and this is just one of those horrible stories. And I mean, everybody has one question on their mind. How exactly was this case handled? What was missing? What was the missing link? How is it that the perpetrators of such evil are walking freely? Meanwhile, the young girl is dead. And this is like 7 years later. So Nigerians have come and they are clamoring for a change. So today we're going to be speaking with a legal expert, like I said. Joining us to have this conversation is Barrister Nneamaka Ilodigwe, the founder and executive director, Women and Child Justice Initiative Nigeria, WOCJIN. I hope I got that right. Good morning, ma.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Exactly, like
Thank you very much. And when I saw the story resurface, I was like, yes, that's the proper thing to do. It is said that the girl has not really, the primary perpetrator of the crime has not really been convicted. So people's eyes are still on the judiciary, on the court, to do what everybody feels is the right thing. So I think the case popping up again means that there is hope for the girl child. There is hope for that person that has been abused and is hidden in the dark. You can always come up to speak up against the abuse. So it is a good thing. It's a good thing. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Now, my question is, what are the legal loopholes that, that made this case not end at the first time it was judged? I mean, the woman who is her auntie was convicted for negligence and for being a witness to what happened. And at the end of the day, we're hearing another story that the child and the husband were not convicted. So what are legal loopholes that made it so that the people who perpetrated this act were not convicted while a witness was convicted for negligence?
Okay, thank you very much. I think let me start with the caregiver, Elizabeth, the woman who was supposed to take care of Elizabeth Ochanya, the aunt. Yeah. I think it's a win. It's a good win that the woman was convicted. It will go a long way to teach a lesson to all these caregivers that children are handed over to. It is very sad to say that a mother in a home will not identify an issue going on with a child. For the issue of rape started 2013 to 2018, and she could not identify it. And that's a very sad one. And I think it's a win for her to have been convicted for negligence and her carelessness. Now, on the loopholes of the court cannot be a judge in its own case. You cannot expect the court, from the investigation given, the autopsy says that the young girl there are conflicting evidence of what happened to her. The evidence said it could be a natural death. They also tagged it as sexual assault and others. You do not expect the court to choose at this point on what happened to the girl. The court is based on the evidence before the court, a conclusive evidence before the court. And it behoves on the prosecuting counsel to prove his case beyond reasonable doubt. The Evidence Act says that he who alleges must prove. So if you are unable to prove a case that has been given to you or to defend your client before a court of law, the court cannot be a judge in its own case. It will be regarded, the court is expected to be an arbiter. The court is not expected to begin to choose between conflicting evidences. The evidence has to be conclusive for the court to give its judgment and convict a person. And remember that for everyone who has been alleged to have committed an offense, the person is seen as innocent until proven guilty. And the proof is beyond reasonable doubt. So when there is doubt in the investigations and the autopsy, you do not expect the court to do otherwise. The hands of the court are tied at this point.
You know, this is a bit, I think the reason it gets really conflicting is the fact that it was, this lady, this girl was said to have died of vesicovaginal fistula, which is a major, of course, which is something that is majorly caused by abuse. You know, when, I don't want to go into the details because of how gory it is. You know, so they said that is what she suffered from, evidently. So if that is considered, and the fact that the aunt who is supposed to take care of her was also charged for negligence, and I'm sure the negligence was because of sexual assault. It means that to an extent it was established that there was sexual assault involved. So couldn't that be grounds for some sort of conviction, at least?
That's the court for you. The judge is the arbiter. It is at his own discretion. And you cannot expect a judge to take, if I were to be the judge, I would have convicted that man. But you know, it's a different thing altogether. People are different. And like I said, the court cannot be left to take decisions. The investigation did not show only the VVF, which is as a result of assault. And you cannot even prove that this girl goes to school and she does some other things. I'm not holding brief for the lecturer or Mr. Andrew. I am not. Don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is that so long as there is no conclusive evidence that this man committed this offense, the court cannot convict that person. It's a rule of law. It cannot be done.
Okay. All right. Now, my question now is, since this has resurfaced again and we are seeking for justice, what are we to do differently? What can be done differently to ensure? Because now I'm not too sure if we have clear evidence to convict these people, right? So what can we do differently to ensure that justice is served with this resurfacing of this case?
Okay, thank you very much. I think that what can be done differently is to go back to the investigation. The hospital where the girl stayed, it was alleged that they did not give proper evidence of what actually happened to the girl, even though they identified VVF, but they were not conclusive. Again, why is the storm still at large in Nigeria? Why is the son? The police have failed in their duty to arrest that boy. They cannot tell Nigerians that since 2013 till date, or 2018, they are not able to arrest the young man. That's a barbadash. If they want to capture the young man, they will capture them. So it's a failure on the part of the police. They should go back and look into the arrest of that boy and rearrest Mr. Andrew. And then they know how to do the investigations, and then the truth will come out. And the doctor, the hospital, is a failure on the hospital also for not giving a conclusive evidence, not documenting. Once there's an issue of sexual abuse, the first thing to do is to test the child, get every evidence around the child, maybe the clothes and other things, document it properly. But it's seen in this case that most of those things were not done. And you can even see that those who are going to collaborate the evidence of this young girl, the daughter of Ochanya's aunt, was denied access to court. The girl was not allowed to come and testify. Remember what the court talks about collaboration. Also, Ochanya is dead. It is the Andrew's word against the dead girl. How will the girl be brought up to speak and say what happened to her? Even though there are some clips of videos where the girl said one or two things.
She actually spoke.
I think that yes. I saw some clips where the girl said one or two things, how her uncle was abusing her. I think that those things should also be put in place, and the court should look into it to be able to convict the primary offender. Very important. Thank you.
You know, I'm so glad that you mentioned the hospitals and what they were supposed to do, documentations and all of that, because I was going to ask you these evidences that we're really asking about, what are they? But you've mentioned, you mentioned her clothing, you mentioned the tests from the hospital. Now, my only worry in all of this is this. First of all, this girl is a small girl. She's a minor who barely even knows what to do after a situation like that. Now, we also read stories. I mean, following the story, you realize that the aunt was defending her husband and was covering him up. You also, if you still dig deeper into the story, you find that even the daughter, who you said was denied access to court hearing, was also part of the culprits, because she somehow sided them. We even saw tweets. We saw tweets that she made. We saw tweets that she made on X, you know, talking about it in a very, very disheartening and disappointing manner. And she was obviously happy about the situation. So in such a case now, where you have just the girl, the minor, I mean, emphasis on the fact that she's a minor, who could at least speak for herself. She could say that this happened and that happened. Couldn't there be something that the court could have just done, considering the fact that there was nobody else at the time? I'm sure before the story got to her parents, maybe if the aunt wanted to do anything to cover it up, she must have even done things. You know, if it was, of course, since she was living in the house, the aunt would be the one to take her to the hospital at the time. You know, what if she had refused? What if she did not do what she was supposed to do, since she was working towards protecting her family? Couldn't there be something that could have been done for the minor, at least considering the fact that she is a child?
Okay. I don't know. I really don't. This is a very dicey question. You know, the court does not base its decision on emotions and sympathy. The court bases its decisions or judgment based on the evidence before the court. Like I said, it is left for the prosecuting lawyer to dig deep. It is the duty of the prosecuting lawyer, not the judge or not the court. It is his duty to dig deep, to find every avenue to make sure that this case is a win-win and that there is justice for the girl. Aside that, there is no sentiment. The law is blind and does not believe in sympathy. Neither does the law believe in hearsay. The law does not believe in hearsay, because all this could be tied to be hearsay, unless the prosecuting counsel is able to prove this case beyond reasonable doubt the judge, the hands of the judges or the judge are tied. There is nothing they can do.
Okay. On a final note, ma'am, sorry, we've run out of time, but on a final note, what would you say that the current Nigerian laws that we have, are they adequate for child sexual abuse and child marriage? Would you say that the laws that we have currently are adequate to favor and protect children from abuse and early marriage?
Thank you very much. Yes, we have a plethora, so many laws, several of them. We have the Child Rights Act, even the Constitution, even though the Constitution is not expressive in terms of the girl child and the protection of the girl child. However, we have the Child Rights Act 2003, which had been domesticated by most states in southeastern Nigeria, except the states in the north. And that's where most of this, when you talk of child marriage, is perpetuated. You know, they see it as the Islam, the Sharia law. They see it as their custom, that they have the right to marry. And there's a provision in the Constitution that people misunderstand. There is a misconception where it's talking about, people misunderstand the passage of the Constitution that is talking about citizenship. They misconcept it to mean that a woman who is married is now an adult. And that makes every young child that is married to become an adult. That is wrong. It's a pure misconception. We have laws. We have the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child. We have the VAP law. All of them protect the child. However, the problem we have in Nigeria is not just the laws. We have many laws. We are very quick and good at adopting laws, at domesticating laws. But we are poor at the implementation and the enforcement of these laws. Okay. That's where we are lacking. That's where most of the loopholes are. And I think that's where I will stop for now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to deep dive into the other matters that are of importance. I guess we're going to have another conversation with you about that, if that is okay.
Yeah. No, it's okay. It's okay. Anytime. Afia TV.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you one more time, Ma.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, Ma.
Yeah.
That was Barrister Nneamaka Ilodigwe, who, of course, has just joined us to talk about justice for Ochanya and the fight against sexual abuse. We're still going to talk about that. We're still going to, I mean, it's a developing story, so we're waiting to see what is going to become of this story. Up next on the AM Weekend Show is another very important conversation. We're going to be looking at child protection and parental responsibility with regards to, you know, protecting the children from abuses and other very, very horrible menaces as this. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.